Cool, okay, recording's going. Try the cameras. Yeah, there we go. So that's overview mode. Let's try detail cam. Yeah, there we go. Boop those out of the way. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so plan is I'll get the stream up as a video on demand afterwards, but I'm just recording it on my computer at the moment and broadcasting over Discord. Okay, let's see what I can do with the audio. Right. I have everything maxed out, so I'll just have to talk loudly, I guess. Tell me if I'm too quiet. Right. So, how many people have we got? We got like 9 people. That's great. So, guys, plan for this evening, this afternoon, depending on where you are, is I am going to be building a power bus, SR6 power bus. And the plan is I want to capture some video and some images for a video that I'm going to put up on Patreon pretty soon. So, yeah, let's get started with that then, shall we? Yeah. It's really weird for me seeing this thing in red. I've only just finished putting this up together. But, yeah, in the end, those of you who were on the last stream a week ago, I managed to get the lid stuck on, so in the end I had to rip it off and I printed a new lid. It's my own stupid fault. But, yeah. So, yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep narrating to the chat what I'm doing, but and there'll be bits where I'm narrating to a video that I'm going to be editing. But for the most part, guys, this is your opportunity to have a chat with me. I'll be keeping one eye on the chat as I go along. And quite happy for the company, to be honest. So let's see how we go. So, what, most of you will know this, but what is the power bus? So, yeah, let's hope I do a good job with the soldering and showing you, because I think this is the easiest soldering job that anybody getting into soldering for the first time can do. But I want to make this as accessible as possible. So I'll show you what we're going to be building by disassembling. This is the old tray that I've got here with my existing power bus, although it's got a little extra accessory that I'll be releasing this month with the main release, so I'll show you that. So the power bus, oh, it's quite dark. I guess it'll have to do. I wonder if, there we go. There we go. Okay. So, this is the tray. There's the ESP32 mounted in the tray. So we've got the pins along here. This is where you connect up your signal wires. But the power bus is this thing that I've mounted here with this little doohickey that I will be putting out the STLs for, because it's a way of mounting the thing that we're going to be making, which is this. And literally what we're making is something that gives you positive and ground pins that you can plug the remaining 2 servo cables into. It's a bit more involved than plugging into the Romeo, but hopefully not too much more. So let's take this apart and we'll show you what the power bus looks like. I still haven't completely lost my COVID cough. Otherwise absolutely fine. Where are my Allen keys? Here we go. So, yeah, I'm going to go back to overview. How's everybody this evening? How are we all doing? Ah, excellent. Glad to have you. Right, so these are the little M2 bolts that hold everything in. Well, the ESP to the tray. So here's the doohickey, technical term for you. So it's a pretty simple little piece, 3D printed, and I've made it so it will literally just screw on top of the ESP32 right there. You're listening to educational material. You're upskilling, is what you're saying, which is well, I don't know what you do at work, but you could argue it's personal development. You're yeah, a doohickey. I'll probably come up with some much more bland name for it, like power bus mount or something, but doohickey tonight is what you're called. Right. And I'll need my craft knife. So this thing is held in with a cable tie, so I've got to cut it to get it out. Ah, yes, the ball links. I saw those. So are they literally just a metal ball that has an M4 thread in them, so you can mount those to the end of your arms? Yeah, that's you know, I really like it when people come up with alternatives, because I'm not always certain that what I've adopted as the main design is the best way of doing it, and so I always like to see when somebody has a potentially better idea. Right, pliers. Yeah, absolutely. Right, just have to get this switch out of here. So there's my that's the SR6 lid. Off there. Right, and then I just unplug all of these servos. Oh good, they've unplugged from the other things as well. Great. Thankfully I was writing that bit of the build plans earlier on today, so I know where to plug them back in. Right. do I want this on here? If I shift it over in the corner. Okay, so this is what we're going to be making tonight. So I'll show you the bits, the various bits that you need. So what you have is you have a your power supply connection. I'm going to use a slightly different one. And then you've got the two wires that come from the power supply. The ground is the easiest one to understand. That literally goes to all of these pins here. So if you can see on the back of this, I'll show you in detail view. I'm explaining this now, I'll have to explain it again on camera. I am on camera, but I know what I mean in the video. So we've got two rails effectively. We've got, and that's literally all the soldering, though there is a trick to it. And we've got a pin rail here, and we can literally plug our servos in. What we need, because the servo pin, the servo signal wires connect to the ESP32, and they will go high or low voltage wise. To complete the circuit, what we need to do is we need to connect the ground to the ESP32, so it's a common ground. So when we look back at, there we go again, when we look back at this, what we need is the ground to go to all of the servos, but it also has to go to the ESP32. So we've got that. What we've got here, so you can see the repairs I've made on this. Those were because this is where the switch used to be. I've got the switch there. Got another one here I'm going to be using. So the switch was there, and it used to be in the tray, but we've got the new SR6 with the switch on the top of the case, so I've had to extend the wires. So yeah, so the switch is also soldered on. So what are we going to do tonight? Tonight I have I'm going to make a new power bus just like that one, except with more pins on it. So I've got the strip board, I've got the pins, I've got my switch, and one last thing. Yeah, I've got that I'm going to be using. So here's the thing that I've been thinking about, but I'm not sure if I might just make it an option. Quite keen on the idea of using one of these, what are they called? XT60. So this is the thing you would find on lithium polymer batteries. They're designed for quite high current flows. And I've seen a few people use these in trays, so I may make one of these connectors an option sticking out of this. Other possibility is a jack connector like this one. But I'm going to use this because it's got the screw terminals and you can change it later. So I've not been able to try this earlier on, but yeah, that can go on there. So I need cable tie as well to mount that. But right, so let's get started. Move some stuff out of the way. Let me get this out. Do I need to? I probably don't need to. I probably don't need that. I'll get that out of the way. So, yeah, I think in the video I just need to show how to put the power bus together. And the thing that always twists my brain around a bit as well is that I always, with a power bus video, because this will be the third power bus video I've made, I film the beginning of the video at the end because I've got the power bus and I say here's how I'm going to make the power bus. Right, so I just need to do that bit again, or introduce the various parts. Something just started buzzing. What was that? Weird. Okay, stand by guys, I'll be back in just a sec. Well, that was weird. Okay, no idea exactly what it was that was buzzing, but I gave my computer a poke and it isn't buzzing anymore. Right, get rid of those bits of wire. Yeah, something like that. Percussive maintenance. Okay. I should probably turn my soldering iron on as well. Okay. So I need to think as well what tools I'm going to need. So definitely need that. Yeah, try turning it off and on again. Is it plugged in? Problem with that is if I turn it off and on again, then you'll lose the stream. So right, I'll need the knife, I'll need the other knife, screwdriver, pliers, definitely going to need this, and I'll show you what for. And this mat has been in the wars. Goodness, it doesn't sit flat anymore. And probably a bit of wood or something as well. Get that just in case I need it. I've actually got a branded Tempest work area, and I'm not using it for this because I'm going to use the pictures from this in the the build plans, and none of the other bits in the build plans have the branded Tempest work area, so I'm keeping consistent. But yeah, so I'll need my camera out as well so I can get some pictures. Oh, a Tempest work area mat. There we go. That's what it looks like. So I'm quite looking forward to doing streams with this, but not today. Yeah, I was very pleased with it when it got delivered. Trouble is, I didn't want to make it too interesting because you've got to be able to see what's on it. Okay, so is there anything else? I've got the soldering iron as well. Do that. Oh, of course. Need the electrical tape as well. Although, I'll get that out as well. I'm going to be using heat shrink for mine, but electrical tape is definitely an option. Get the camera out. And so yeah, got the heat gun as well. Okay. Let's get a starting picture. I know as soon as I take this picture there's going to be something I've forgotten, but I think I've got it all. Yeah, the tape there. I think we're good. Oh. Shout out if you see anything. Yeah, here's the test. What have I obviously forgotten? Yep. Yeah, that'll do. Right. Okay. I get a better light reflection that way around. Okay. Photograph time. Okay. All right. So these are the materials you're going to need to build the power bus. What you'll need is some copper strip board. So these are 0.1 inch pitch holes with copper strips running lengthways. I'll show that again in a minute. you will need a power jack connector. It needs to be compatible with your power supply. I've gone with this one because it's got screws, screw connections, which are going to make things a little bit easier, especially if you want to chop and change things later. It also helps because it has a plus and a minus on it, which means if you're soldering it yourself, you'll be a little bit less confident you were getting the positive and negative terminals right. A fairly chunky switch that will fit into the lid on your OSR2 or SR6. These, which are a set of pins, header pins, and they're 0.1 inch header pins. They will slot into this. So in a minute I'll do a close-up on all of these. And wire. This is a point I want to hammer home in this tutorial, which is that the wire that you use for your power bus has to be very good chunky wire. You can't go for thin wires. If you look at the kind of wire that you get on a solder a servo connection, these wires are probably enough for an individual servo, but the problem is that with the SR6 we could be dealing with quite significant currents, and even an OSR2 if you're using servos, big servos at a high enough level. And if you have a wire that's too thin, it's going to start generating a lot of heat and potentially start a fire if you're not careful. So the guide that I would recommend when you choose wire for your power bus is look at what the maximum current rating of your power supply is. So for example, I'm using a 10 amp bench power supply, and then when you choose your power bus wire, choose a wire that is rated to a higher current than your power supply. So this wire here is quite thick and it's rated to 16 amps. So this should be absolutely fine. It's not going to get hot. But I don't want to emphasize, I can't emphasize that enough, guys. Nice chunky wires for your power bus, especially now we're dealing with 6 meaty servos. So the tools we're going to be using, we've got a file here, I'll explain what that's for, a pair of pliers, a Stanley knife, a good strong knife there, a small craft knife is useful for more delicate stuff. I've got a screwdriver here because there are screws on the connector here, and electrical tape. You can use heat shrinks if you've got the kit to do that, but I'm going to show you how to do this with electrical tape because buying a roll of this is much easier than going in and getting heat shrink stuff. So let's get started. And by started, what I mean for you guys in the stream is I'm going to do some close-up shots of these various components. Is there anything that, any questions that you guys have? Anything that comes to mind if I haven't covered in what I've been talking about? So, is the focus set right for that? Wait for the camera to stop wobbling. Yeah, there we go. So you see that's a 0.1 inch pitch. It's simply just copper strips that run lengthways down the board. And I'm going to show you how to cut this up. With these header pins, they come in nice long strips. will be taking off. I'm going to make this power bus with 10, and you can see that they slot in like that. So they're the same pitch. So yeah. Here's the connector. It's got positive and negative, and its screw terminals. And where's the wire here? Yeah, there we go. So it's compatible with that. Of course, the wires there, those are rated to 4 amps, so I might need to remake this, but I'm not going to do it tonight. This is the extension. My bench power supply, I've put an XT60 connector on the end of those chunky wires, and this is how I use it to connect to the machines I'm developing. But yeah, I might develop a socket so you can just plug the XT60 straight in. That would also work for portable use as well if you're using a lithium polymer battery and going over Wi-Fi using Kroll's excellent software, which I need to incorporate into the main code. Chunky switch. And the wire. Great. So I'm going to stop that recording and start recording again, and then double check that the recording is working. Come on, computer. Okay, that's good. Okay, close that. Back to overview mode. So, the first thing we need to do is we need to cut out a piece of this strip board that will form our power bus. So I'm going to show you the best way I think of doing that. So what we want is a strip with two, hold on a sec, a strip with two, what we want is a strip with two of these tracks running 10 pins and then another extra couple to solder the on-off wires onto it. So what we're going to do is we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, and then from here, and if I mark that off so I can find that, what we can now do is we can, so we're going from hole to hole across here. Like so. What do you guys think of this view? Do you think it gives us a good idea of what's going on? So I'm literally wanting to score across there like that. And then I can do it on the other side as well. Which row of holes is it? There we go. So we're wanting to link all of the holes with a... That wasn't centered. So we're wanting to link all of the holes with a scoring like that. And then what we can do is, because the holes are a weak point and we've made them even weaker, and I practiced this off camera, is we can literally break that off like that. So you can get rid of this. So now we've done that crossways, we need to do that again. Yeah, I also have a Dremel, but I'm going for the simplest way of doing it. But yeah, do create a bit of dust. We will with this in a minute, but I'll show you what will happen. So next, what we need to do is we need to do this again lengthways. So on this one, you need to be a little bit deeper with the cut. But the good news is, if you get it wrong, you can do a lot of tries to get it right. Okay, this is what the pliers are for. So you're not looking to do it all in one go. Do a little wiggle, and that comes off like that. Look for copper strip board. Yeah, strip board. Okay, now here's the test. Can I do it again? You need to get it right twice in a row. Okay, so yeah, you do it on both sides, and then I'll show you again. Nice good grip with your pliers, and imagine, doesn't need any force really, you just a little wiggle back and forth and off it comes. So next, what we want to do is we want to make it so that it will fit this. So this is a little doohickey that I'll be including with the SR6 release and probably OSR2 releases in future. And this is a thing that we can use to mount our finished power bus to the ESP32 in a convenient place. So what we want, you see we've got an end here that we want this to fit into there, and at the moment it doesn't quite fit. So we use a file to make it fit. So literally take some off both sides, a bit tight, so you want a nice even on both sides, but a nice tight fit like that. So yeah, that should just slide in like that. So that's just right for what we are doing. So let's move on to the intimidating bit, which is the first bit of soldering. And get rid of the dust, guys. Right. Is everybody following still? Good, good. Right. Why have my soldering irons wrapped around my drink? It's I know it's pretty loud where I was. It was away from the microphone though. I've got the microphone up on a boom just here. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So. Okay, so for the soldering, obviously you'll need a soldering iron that's hot. You'll want your sponge here that's wetted with water. And you'll want a nice clean tip. And get it nice and warm, a soldering iron. Now we need our pins. So I'll show you breaking these off. So these are our pins, and what we want with this power bus, we've got 12 holes here. We want 2 rows of 10 pins. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Break it off there. And to break them off, you literally just bend gently, and they're broken off. So, is that 10? Yes, that looks like 10. We get a second one the same length. So I stick my thumbnail in there and then just snap. So we have 2 sets of pins here, and literally what we want to do, we want to insert these Have I miscounted? Let's count these again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 on here. Great. Let's break. So, got 2 rows of 10 pins. What are we going to use the 11th servo on? I mean, 8 is because we've got the T-valve and the twist. And that's what I've got on my current. This old power bus has got 8. I've added 2 more just in case. I'm thinking I might want to put a BEC to power things like the fan and the ESP32 in future, but anyway, where was I? So we've got 2 rows of 10 pins, and literally what we want to do is put those in like so. And we want to solder those in place, so we've got two rails, if you like. Now, the trick to doing good soldering, the knack to it, if you like, or the secret to good soldering, is that you want to get the angle right when you do the soldering. Otherwise you're trying to get at it and hold it with one hand, and you need three hands because you're holding it and you've got the solder and you've got the soldering iron. So there is a trick that you can use for this without any kind of special setup. If I get the offcut here, I can sit it like that. And that should hold it in place. And I'll show you the other secret with a power bus. So, moment of truth, guys. Can I solder on camera without making a complete fool of myself? And you guys were here to watch when I did it. So, soldering iron and solder. The trick with a power bus I've found, a trick with soldering, I'm not wanting to touch the solder to the iron straight away. What I want to do is I want to get my soldering iron and I want to touch it to both components, so the pin and the rail at the same time. Once I'm touching both of those, I want to touch the solder into the gap. So let's give that a go. And if you wait for just a moment, you'll see, nope. Yeah, there we go. So that's not in focus anymore. So the solder has to stick to both the pin that protrudes through and to the board itself. And the nice thing about just doing the one there in the middle is you can see that that has now secured the pins to that board. They're not quite straight yet, as you can see, but the advantage to only doing it in one place first is that it's very easy to melt that solder again and get the angle right. So let's see if I can do it end on here, so I end up burning my fingers on camera. Oh, the angle here is impossible. Yeah, there we go. Notice I'm not touching the pin that I'm about to heat up. Great. So, let's angled it the other way. You want to get it nice and flat. Yeah, there we go. So the trick here is that because you've only soldered one pin, it's much easier just to keep remelting it and then get the pins all in the position that you want them to be. So now we can do it with the other row. So touch the iron to the track and to the pin. Ha. Hold on a moment, something's loose. Yeah, that was loose, and my instinct was to go straight to it with my fingers and tighten it up again. I'm glad I didn't. Right, let's do this again. Yep. Yep, mine will not look like the perfect. But, yeah, we'll see. Okay. Wibble wobble. So let's do the... Yep. So let's do the next one. Next row of pins. God damn it. Yeah, there we go. So, the other row of pins. That is awful, and my thumb's in the way. Ow, that was hot. Right, other row of pins. Normally I get my face a lot closer. This is proving tricky. Right. Solder's not going where I want it to go, guys. Doesn't like that pin at all. God damn it. Yeah, that's better. There we go. So, again, it doesn't have to be too tidy, but we've now got both rows of pins in place, and that trick of soldering the middle pin is what makes it much easier. And this is the... I'll just adjust that. Okay. So this is the point where you want to be absolutely sure that that's where you want these rows of pins to stay. If you want to move either row, all you need to do is heat up the one pin and you can wiggle it about. But as soon as we start soldering the rest, then it's going to stay as it is. So let's do the other pin, shall we? And I'm going to get my face in closer so I can see what I'm doing. You haven't got the best camera angle because I keep putting my hand in the way. Got a ball of solder there. Keep thinking there's something up with my soldering iron. It's not getting very hot. I keep putting my hand in the way as well. Huh. I'm not saying very much, that might be it. Definitely something weird going on with my tip of my soldering iron. Sorry guys, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So here's a weird thing. So there's some solder on the top of these pins here. If I touch with the end of the soldering iron, They don't get hot. That solder doesn't melt. This soldering iron's at 480 degrees Celsius and it's not melting. But watch this. Touch with this bit. Instant. So what's gone wrong with the tip of this soldering iron? It's really weird. Oh, try and keep going. Yeah, if it was performance anxiety, it would be drooping. Well, I told you guys to bring popcorn. I think I might have some spare tips for this somewhere. Where would I keep them? Yeah, thanks for bearing with, guys. I think I just need to remember now where I put my spare soldering iron tips. They'll be in one of these boxes somewhere. Yeah, it looks like, doesn't it? Or it's oxidized or something. Okay, bear with, guys. I'll be back in just a minute. I might as well turn it off if I'm going to change the tip. How did I accumulate so much stuff? Yeah, you ever have one of those things where there's a part that you think you need, and it's been like everywhere you look, there's that thing. It's just absolutely everywhere. But then the moment you actually need it, you think, oh, I'll just go and get it, and then you can't remember where on earth it was. Having one of those moments. I'm running out of places to look. Same day, same night. Ah, found them. Just hope these are compatible with the soldering iron I'm using. just go back to this view for a minute. So when I burn myself, I can do it broadcast live over the internet. Okay, that isn't absolutely roasting hot. So how do I change you, because I've not done this before? Okay, still a little bit warm. Nope. Yeah, if you look at the tip of this thing, let's point with the new one. This bit here is just it's not good. So it's a thing to watch out for if you think that this soldering lark is really difficult. This is the third soldering iron I've been through, because the old ones I had were cheaper ones and they kept having the same problem. But yeah. Not quite as pointy as the old one. Still, that'll do. Okay. Right, should we have another go at all of this? Let's get the heat back on. So, got a new tip on it. Where's the focus point? There. So, fingers crossed, this will work a lot better. In fact, we could cheat and I could do a better job. Better job with this one. No, let's stick with this one for now. But if I do get stuck, I've got the one I prepared earlier. How are you guys all doing in the chat? I hope I haven't been too boring with my soldering iron troubles. Right. You watch, if I do this, it will be extremely easy in comparison. Yeah, I don't believe it. That's so much easier. My wife's going to find me first thing in the morning, knee deep in these. I'm trying to get a good camera shot of it. Right. See, when you guys watch the 10-minute video that I'll put up on Patreon, you'll remember the 3-hour process it took to record it. And you'll know. Gosh, that's so much easier. He said. I had to say that, didn't I? Didn't even stick. Ow, that's hot. Okay, we're set. Right, so with both of those rails soldered in place, all we need to do now is the rest of the pins. Yes, editing is... Alright, let's try and get a better camera angle on this. There we go. Doesn't need to be too neat. The only thing that really matters is that the solder doesn't bridge the two tracks. I'm assuming, Guy, that the message you gave me was before I changed the camera, but yeah. Good, good. Yeah, I'm starting to get into the flow of this now. So, yeah. That doesn't look too bad, does it? Not sure if this one's going to look any better. So, the point I'm sort of making here with these guys, well, I think I've got a bit of a bridge going on there. I need to check that in a moment. The point I'm making is that this is a great way to learn and develop your confidence soldering, because the strip board isn't expensive and you can make as many little strips as you need. These pins come in bags with loads and loads, so have as many goes at this as you want. And you're not going to be destroying any valuable components if you're not amazing at soldering first time. So let's take a look. So the important thing to stress here, guys, is that it doesn't matter if it's untidy, as long as you've got plenty of contact between each pin and the rails, and also as long as you don't bridge the two contacts. The easiest way to check that is with a multimeter, which I'll show in a moment. But what do you reckon, guys? If you don't have a multimeter, how would you check that you're not got a short between the two rails? Question for the chat. 9 volt and a light, yeah. Do you get smoke coming out of your power supply if you wire it up? That's usually a good giveaway. Right. So, yep. So it doesn't need to be tidy, it just needs to have all of the pins soldered. The next test is whether it will fit into the housing like that. Right, okay. So guys, it doesn't need to be neat, but what matters is that you've got good solder connections between all of the pins and the tracks. And also that if you look in there, the solder, the metal doesn't actually bridge the two rails. If you've got a multimeter that can check the resistance between the two, that's a good way of checking. Maybe if you've got a battery and an LED or a light hanging around, that might be a good way to double check it. Either way, be very, very careful when you plug this into your power supply for the first time that you haven't got a short. So if you turn it on and nothing comes on, turn the power off immediately. Be very careful, but as I say, what we care about here is that we don't have metal bridging the two tracks. And then you want to check that with this extra metal work on there, that it still fits snugly into the holder. So great, let's move on. Cycle my recording. Yep, that's another good point. I've got two now. Which one do I use? I've also forgotten which was the first one. Doesn't matter. Which one's got a better fit in here? Oh yeah, this was the one we made earlier on. It's got a much tighter fit. Alright, I'll use that one. Okay. I just realised something else I didn't have on my set of things to get. Oh, this, yeah, you weren't here earlier on, Talani. This is my power bus holder. So I'll be releasing this with the SR6 release this month. It's just a way of holding the power bus on the into the tray like that. I'm quite pleased with it. Where do you come from? Okay. Yeah, there's an extra component that I'd forgotten that I needed. As I was waving it around earlier on. This is what we want is a way of wiring this up to the we want to be able to wire this into the ground on the ESP32, and the best way to do that is with a wire, a crimped wire from a servo extension. I forgot to mention that. I wonder as well if I'll wave this around, and then what I actually want to use is a leftover I've got. bunch of leftover bits of wire extension. Yeah, this will do. Give myself an idea of what sort of lengths I need as well. So this is the old power bus from my older SR6, and you can see you don't actually need a lot on the ground. Likewise, you don't need too much length on the ground pin either. But right, moving on. So let's move on to the wires. So we don't actually need that much length on the ground, which we're going to do first. I'll get rid of that for a sec. Yeah, that's probably not the one I want either. Oh. Yeah, this is the amount of work that goes into a 15-minute video. Well, this is the work that goes into filming the 15-minute video, and then there's also a similar amount of time spent editing. Right. So let's move on to the... So now we've got this soldered up, let's move on to the wires. So I'm going to do the ground first. And for the ground we need two components. What we need is we need to link the power supply connection to one of the rails on the bus here. And what we also need to be able to do is we need to be able to link the ground on the bus to the ground on the ESP32. And one way that you could do that is get a bit of black jumper wire and a crimper connection onto the end of it. But of course, just for this one connection, there's no point in you buying a crimping tool, so I've got an alternative for you. This is a wire extension, a servo wire extension. I recommend getting hold of a bunch of these because they're really useful if you need to do any of this sort of work with wiring. And the wires in the end of these have already been crimped for you. There's a metal connector on here. So if I get a knife and I stick it in here, I can coax this wire out. I've got an instinct now for when I'm going to be doing my cuts as well, so I can muck about. I'll do a close-up in a moment. And the wire that comes out is already crimped, and that means you can just use this wire as the wire that goes onto the ESP32. Going to film that again using detail cam. Ooh, right. So if I insert a craft knife into this little plastic lever here and push it up, I can actually pull out this wire, and you can see that this wire's already got a crimp connector on the end of it, so you don't need to actually bother crimping anything. You can get one of your single covers, put that over it, and you've got a wire. So you just pull this off and there you are, you've got a ground wire to go onto your ESP32, and I think that's a very neat solution for what we're doing here. Right, so now I'll put this back and then pretend I've pulled the other wire off. Right, there we go. Good as new. Ta-da! Right. Back to overview mode. Grab a mouthful of crisps. Chips, I guess you guys would call them. So how much do we need here? It's about 10 centimeters, isn't it? Yeah, 10 centimeters. Yeah, cool, good point. Yep. I don't have an ale this evening, this is just orange squash. Might get myself a glass of port or something later on. We start getting towards the end. But that'll be my reward for getting most of the way through this. Okay, so we don't need a lot of wire for the ground, so about 10 centimeters should be enough. So take your knife, and we're looking to just cut of course the lengths I'm using here for an SR6, but if you're fitting this to any other machine like an OSR2, I would recommend double measuring the distances you need first. So got a length of wire here, and we can roll it with a bit of gentle pressure under a craft knife. Of course, the insulation's quite thick, but there we go. There's the wire. So roll again. And roll again. So expose the ends here. This end is going to be quite easy. It will just go straight in. It'll go into the negative side on there. The other end we will have to solder. So let's get on with that. Yep. Thanks for joining us, Guy. See you soon. No, he's already gone. Right. Okay, so obviously this cable's too thick to go through one of the holes on this strip. So what we're going to be doing is soldering it down like this. Now there's a trick to soldering two components together, especially something fiddly, and that's to get solder onto both halves of the joint before you introduce them to each other. So let's do that. Let's put some solder down here first, and it doesn't matter which row you are using, as long as you and it doesn't matter which row you're using, as long as you get it right when you plug the solder. And it doesn't matter which row you're using as long as you get it right when you plug the servos in. So we'll just put some solder on there. I'll do the other side whilst we're at it. And what you'll find is as you heat the rail up, the solder will stick to it. Now with the wire, let's position that so you can see it. We just want a bit of solder on the wire itself. Like so. Now what we should be able to do is, if I press these two together and melt the solder, it should just merge the two into one joint. Fingers crossed, everybody. Yeah, nearly that. It's one of those joints you think it's almost good enough, but you know that the moment that you muck about with it, you're just going to destroy your good work. Let's have a there we go. Nearly, nearly, nearly. Okay, so that's connected that. Now the ground. Now the ESP grounding wire. Just out of interest, those of you in the chat, is this sort of stuff useful? Is this what you were expecting from this evening? I mean, obviously the finished video will be a lot more watchable, but just want to make sure that I'm producing content that's good for you guys. Okay, so for this we need a little bit shorter. Don't cut it too short, but I don't know, about 7 or 8 centimeters. So about there should be more than enough for what we're doing. So get rid of that, and then much gentler this time, remove the insulation. Cool. So same procedure again here. I'm going to put a tiny bit of solder on this. I'm talking to you, not the. So the same procedure again. I want a tiny bit of solder on this bit of wire, and we'll just merge it into this part here. So yeah, I'm glad of the company. I mean, I enjoy making these videos, but it's fun to be sharing it with you guys as well. So now we just merge this wire in like so. So you can see that that is now well and truly merged in, and we'll show what we're going to do to finish this off shortly. Okay, it does need another dab of solder. Of course, the whole lot separates if I'm not careful. Oh no, it's worse than that. Oh dear. What's happened is the whole track's coming up. Right, I'm going to cheat. And you guys saw me doing it. You can go in with a craft knife and scrape it out. There's a whole bunch of tools that I can take advantage of here that I don't want to necessarily tell everybody to go out and buy. One of them is this thing. I found is absolutely indispensable. I love this thing. It's brilliant for getting soldered joints. The other thing, of course, is the solder remover, but I don't want to tell people to go out and buy every single tool. Oh my goodness. I should have left well alone, shouldn't I? Oh. Right. Oh God, it's horrible. Oh dear. Yeah, I should be getting commission from those 3D printer companies. Hey, if I'd had my way, then it would have all been laser cut plywood. I'm just trying to tidy this up. Oh God, it's a horrible mess. Why is it doing this to me? No, disconnect from that. There we go. Right. If I can't tidy this out, I'm going to have to do it again with the spare. Ah, there we go. Well, he was a traitor, so what would he know? Man with a history of treason. I'm not going to take dental advice from him. Yeah. 2 presidents in US history with criminal records. One was George W. Bush, and I forget what it was he did, actually. I think it was shoplifting or something minor like that. And George Washington, who, treason. Plotting to overthrow the, not overthrow the king, but plotting against the king. His king. Yeah, all I can say is you guys are overdue on taxes. Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs will be in touch. Shillings, yeah. Pounds, shillings and pence. I forget when it was long before I was born that we switched from old money to decimal currency. Right. Okay. Get rid of that. Right. I'll keep that. Right, so how long are these wires? Both about 30 centimetres long, I think. Yeah, it's an out and return, isn't it? Okay, so now the power. So the power has to... Oh, sorry. Okay, so now the power. So the power has to do the same thing. It has to go from the power supply to one of the rails. But it also has to go via this switch. And in the SR6, that's from the bottom of the machine enclosure to the top. So what we actually need is about 30 centimeters each way. So that is... So that is about that. So we'll cut it off there. And I hope I get it right, because this is the only length of this wire I've got, and it's about 1 metre. Do you guys know how many pence there were in a shilling and how many shillings there were in a pound? Just pop quiz. Does anybody know? Because it sounded weird. It sounds weird if you're used to 100 cents or something in a dollar, or 100 pence in a No, a pound sterling, not a pound weight. Yeah, there's a 6 in there. Yeah, I'll tell you the thing that I found weird when I was over in the US. Quarters. Having a 25 denomination coin. That was weird to me. Because it's the same here, except we have a... Yeah, you're right, Rez. 12 pence. Okay, so... Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. We have a 20 pence piece, which is different, but that's new pence, of course. So the old money that we used to have in Britain, there were pounds, shillings, and pence, and basically there were 20 shillings to a pound, and there were 12 pence to a shilling. And for some reason, it goes back well into history that I think it was a pound of sterling silver was a pound in money. So a pound's weight of silver. So that's how we get the pound. But the 12 is interesting. 12 pence to a shilling. Well, you say that, but here's an interesting question for you. You all go out you'll go and pay for something, or 3 of you go out and pay for something, and you have to split it. Say you get paid a shilling. Well, let's say you get paid $1, and there are 3 of you. How do you split it? It's with violence, yes. I like it. The whole thing with having a 12 pence to a shilling means that you can split in 4 ways, and you can also split in 3 ways. So it's more useful than you would think. So if you had a pound, you could literally split it evenly 3 ways. An old British pound. Okay. Right, so let's join this to the okay, so we have 2 lengths of power cable. Let's solder one of these to the power bus and get on with some work instead of discussing old British currency. History lesson over. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm an engineer and I also love and hate the imperial system. With hours and hours of this film footage, I'm going to have to end up buying a RAID server or something. I always do this. I always get it in place and think, oh, just about right, but I'll just adjust it, and then I end up totally wrecking all my work. Right. So what we care about is so there we are with both wires on there, and what we care about is that there's no metal to metal contact between the two rails. And now we're done, of course, the other thing we can do is scrape between with a knife just to make sure there's no metal in between, and make sure you blow out any dust, any of the dust left by the flux residue. So now we're going to seal it up. So what I recommend for sealing this, I'm going to be using a heat shrink, but the easiest thing that you can use is some electrical tape. So you pull the length of it out, and then you can just wrap it around this. Yeah, don't get me started on guineas. I can't remember what a guinea is. So there we are, that's sealed it off. And there is your power bus. So all we need to do now is wire up the switch. Of course, what I'm going to use is heat shrink. I think there's something up with my multimeter. I've tried putting a new battery in. I think it's just broken. I've got one wired up to the common, one wired up to the plus there. See what I mean? That should be... it's really weird. Maybe. To be honest, the voltmeter has been is it just the leads though? No, it's not just the leads. Oh, I'm going to have to order a new one. I don't think we're too far off finishing this. But I was going to do heat shrink, wasn't I? Right. Oh, yeah, but first I was checking I didn't have a short. How do I check that? I can use a battery. I've got a battery. What will tell me if there's a... Do I have a light? Right. Oh, I know what I can use. Where did I put them? Actually, these might be a bit fiddly, but anybody want to guess what that is? I was thinking something I could wire up that would move if I... Yep, vibration motor out of a mobile phone. I had a bag of them when I was doing that hypnosis haptic project. What else do I have? I mean, I really just need a light or something. Okay, LED, and okay, so let me see if I remember this right. Got an LED and a 330 ohm resistor. So if I stick one in there, it's a 6-volt battery. So plug that in there, and then if those touch, yeah, there we go. Oh, you can't see that because my finger's in the way. Look, that just shorted it. Look. Yeah, there we go. So, if I get myself in camera, there we go. So if I touch those together like that, I get a short, which means if I touch that on there, yeah, there's no short there, but there is there. So that gives us some confidence. Good. Knew there was a way of doing it. Right, heat shrink. We will get there, guys. Don't. No. Oh. Yeah. Right, is that the right size? No. That might be a bit too big. That's definitely too small. Do I have one in the middle? Yeah, that'll do it. Right. Bit of heat shrink. Right. This should be satisfying. Right. I think that looks quite neat. Right, last little bit of so all of my awful soldering is pretty well hidden. Okay, going to cycle the recording again. Okay. That can get out of camera. These I'm using, that I'm not, that I'm not. Right, now, Okay, so next we need to install the switch on the end of these wires. So let's do that. What's the best way of doing this? Yeah, it's literally just put the switch on and... Oh, I've just realised something, but I'll explain that in a moment. Yeah, just put the switch on and screw in the connectors to that. And we are done, I think. Oh, yeah, I just spotted it. That's a good question, and I will be addressing it in just a moment. Sort of gives me a bit of confidence if I do this on stream, that if I haven't said something and somebody thinks, oh, you should definitely include that, then you can tell me. Yeah, that heat shrink's a bit too small. Yeah, too small for that. I want to, it's the same size. Quite a big jump in size, actually. Yeah, you haven't done heat shrink properly until you've soldered up a joint and then realised you needed to have the thing on there. Right, so take that off for the moment. Take that out of the way. That shouldn't be there. Okay, so now we need to wire up the switch to these two wires. So what I tend to recommend with the switch, and it doesn't really matter, but you want to connect the middle one. I'm getting confused now. Okay, so now we need to wire up the switch to these two wires. So the way you need to wire the switch is the middle has to connect to one of the outside ones, depending on which way the switch is. What I tend to do is I tend to wire up the power in, which will come from this one, to the middle, and then choose one of the outsides as the one that connects to the power bus. But that's the crucial thing to use, to connect from the middle to one of the outside ones. If you connect from outside to outside, if you connect from outside to outside, then you won't get a connection when the switch is flipped. So middle to outside. So let's do that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean the heat gun wasn't too expensive, and definitely a worthwhile investment if you're doing this sort of thing. Okay, that didn't do a good job. But yeah, the heat gun's not too expensive, and nor is the pack of the various different sizes of heat shrink. Okay, I'm going to have to do this on detail view. Could you guys actually see that? I couldn't tell. I was focusing on the... Yeah. Yeah, thanks for spotting. Okay, so that's soldered one wire. A thing you can do to neaten it up a bit is just make sure that the wire doesn't foul. So use the pliers to clip them together like that. So again, what we want is a piece of electrical tape. A short piece of electrical tape, and you can wrap it around an uneven fold is best, because with an uneven fold what you can do is then wrap it around the cable like so. And I'll be taking that off and using heat shrink in a moment. That's not really in focus, is it? So now the other lead. It's difficult to get a good... I'm still learning what the best angle is. I think maybe bringing the camera up a bit and pointing down. And make sure I've got focus as well. Sorry about the thrilling camera work, guys. I have to get this close to my face. Sorry I've gone quiet. I'm just fiddling. What else can I tell you about? The SR6 build plans are coming along quite nicely. But thing is, I set this date to do the thing with the power bus, and I actually want to include this in some of the build plans, so I haven't been able to do those bits yet. But I'm quite aware that a lot of people are waiting for a set of build plans before they put together their SR6, so that's why I'm definitely getting it out this month. I can't get COVID and get sick that way because I've already had it. I have to think of some other disease. I'm really not having much success pushing this through this hole. That's what she said. Nearly there, nearly there. Yeah, the thing that's most surreal for me, I find, is I'll do a design, and then to see it start appearing, other people have made this thing, like parts I've designed, but see them appearing on other people's, other people have put them together. That's still very, that still has an impact on me, you know? And of course it's extra fun when people start riffing off the designs as well. Yeah, it seems to be a popular mod, the iLoop, doesn't it? I've not really ventured into building an official one. I mean, I built the lube pump into the firmware, but that's as far as I've gone with it. Yeah, I mean, it's that one's been an interesting one because got into a bit of a, I wouldn't say an argument, but like a back and forth with Kroll about that, because he had quite a valid point, which is that so the vibration and the lube pump have timeouts. So the idea is basically if you're watching a video back and the vibe's been queued to happen, or the lube pump is queued to happen, they've got a timeout after I think vibration it's like 2 seconds by default, and lube pump I think it's half a second or something, because you don't want to. Well, say you've got a lube pump and the pump starts going, and then you hit pause on the video. You don't want it to keep going indefinitely until it's told to stop, so that there's a timeout built into it. But he said the person that behaviour is sort of implicit in it's built into the firmware, but it's not implicit in T code. This came to light when I was playing with vibration motors. Again, it was the Hypnosis Haptics project. I'd noticed that some of the longer periods of vibration, the vibration was cutting off. So it means that things for vibration or lube, you've got to keep sending the level, even if it's not changing. Otherwise, it'll cut out. I think this might be the one, guys. Right. Must not let this fall out. Okay, so that's in there, and then I just need to solder that. Let's hold it with a bit of tape. Also found, Kroll's point was that the person writing the app that drives it doesn't know that what the timeout is, so they don't know how often they have to send the signal, or implicitly that they have to keep doing it. For which he has a good point. Maybe I'll solder it on that side. Right. Someone scream at me if my hand gets in the way. Yeah, good pun. So that's that soldered in there as well. So that's off and that's on. So let's get some more tape and cover that up. Yeah, I've found people don't use vibration very much either. It's not. It's been supported right from the very earliest days, actually, of OSR2, but not especially popular. There we go. So that's that finished. Yeah, I'd hope so. It was very interesting actually playing it just when I was doing that hypnosis stuff. It was interesting playing with the vibe channel where somebody had actually scripted some vibe scripts because I'd not played with that much before. The squeeze or the vibration. Going to cut back to overview view. We're nearly there, guys. Oh, the vibration. Yes, you'd need yeah, looking forward to seeing. I mean, there's the. I have come up with a solution, the Fleshlight Vibro, which you can buy, and ages back I released a special plug that you could screw into those because they've got good vibration motors, but they're awful because they use those tiny single-use batteries. Yeah, so you can wire it up, but with the SR6 you would need to use either a little motor controller board or a MOSFET to. Maybe I'll do a video like this showing you how to do a MOSFET setup for an SR6. But yeah, okay, maybe I'll look into doing that. It's a bit easier with the Romeo, of course, but yeah, if you look back through some of my old documentation, I show the wiring of how you would use something like a MOSFET. But as I say, the alternative is you use a motor controller board, which you can buy and you can wire up using jumper leads from the particular pins on the ESP32. Yeah, H-bridge board. You don't need to use the reverser channel. Right, where's the other heat shrink? There we go. Because we'll be talking about getting a BEC as well into an SR6, so you can power the board and the extractor fan. So I might be looking at that. Right, okay, there's the heat shrink on there, so I'll get the heater on it. push those down as far as I can take them. Right. Okay, that's quite neat. Yeah. The only trouble with the relay board is that it's on-off rather than. So the nice thing about using a MOSFET is you can control the speed. And if somebody's done I mean, this again, I keep going back to this stuff I was doing with the hypnosis stuff. Some of the scripting is really quite well done. So they use different levels. Okay. Okay, so that's the switch done on the end of here. We've got our power bus down here. So the last piece is to install the power socket. So this one isn't too complicated, it's just a screw connector, so let's do that. So I'll try and do this on camera, guys. Yeah, good night, Grimace. I'll see you soon, and I'll get the video up as soon as possible. Right. So literally just insert and screw with this one. Just like the SR6, am I right? Oh dear. Yeah, there we go. So there we have it. This is the finished power bus. So we have our rack of connectors down here. We've got our ground lead for the ESP32 that comes off the ground connector. Ground connector goes to the socket over here, and of course we've got these two leads that go to the switch, and they're long leads on the SR6. If you're doing this for an OSR2, then you probably want slightly different wire lengths, so check those before you build it. But there we go, that is our finished power bus. Great. So now all I need to do is do the intro. Move detail cam out of the way. Soldering iron can go off. Okay, hi guys, Tempest here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this, which is a power bus for an SR6. It's a fairly simple piece of work, but if you've not done any soldering before, I would say this is the ideal project to learn on, because it needs a little bit of soldering. We need to put this rack of pins together, and we need to attach the wires to this switch. So let's get started. How's that? Do you reckon that... I guess I should do an explanation of... Hi guys, Tempest here. I'll roll my sleeves up as well. Hi guys, Tempest here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make this, which is a power bus for an SR6. Now we need the power bus because the ESP32 that powers the... Now we need a power bus because the ESP32 that controls the servos in an SR6 doesn't have any other way of connecting up the power to the servos. So we'll do that using this. So it features a set, a dual rail of pins. So it has a dual, so it has two rows of pins that we use to power the servos, a power socket that your power supply connects into, and a switch that you can use to turn the power to the servos on and off, which is very useful. So in this video I'm going to go through how to make this. It's a very good project as well, I think, if you've never done soldering before, because it needs a little bit of soldering, but it's a very gentle way to get into it, and you don't need a huge number of tools or specialist skills really to work on it. I'm going to take you through it step by step. So let's get started. It's true. You can also use this I'm not going to go through all that preamble again. It's worth also adding that this can also be used in an OSR2, although with slightly different wire lengths, so consider this as a guide for both. There we go. Right, so what am I going to do? I will eat some more crisps, and I think I've got all the footage I need. I'm going to stop the recording just to make sure I've got all of those. Yeah, file saved, good. I'm going to grab myself a... I'll be on for another 10-15 minutes, I think. I'll grab myself a little drink of something a bit more fun. And we'll try throwing this thing into the SR6 that I've got up here. And now I've built it, check the thing actually fits. If it doesn't fit, I have to do it all over again. Yeah. Back in a sec. Right, there we go, glass of port. Somebody's Christmas present to me. Right. I definitely... So now you get my stream of consciousness. Now we've finished finished assembling this thing. I definitely need to add some features into the lid, SR6 lid, to guide this cable so it doesn't get pinched between here and here. I've had that problem a few times. Oh, I was going to take a picture of this thing before I put it in. Hopefully I can use still frames from the video as well. And the setup and the build plans. That's really good stuff. Right, bring you back detail cam. It needs a better name than detail cam. Propose me some new names, chat. Yeah. Let's I'll get the soldering iron out of the way. Right. Okay. And then there. Yep. Of course, one of the wires has come out. Do you guys have this game called Cards Against Humanity. Is that familiar to any of you guys? Good. Yeah. There's a line in it. One of them is I drink to forget. There's also the one that can't possibly come up when we play, which is my high-tech sex toy collection. I have to make sure I don't make eye contact with my wife if that one comes up. Yeah. I drink to forget. Right. Constantly trying to keep track of what's... I've got what I'm looking at, and then I realise I sort of drift off camera. So trying to stay on. Right, where did... Oh, goodness. Made a mess over there. Right. Right. That's the other thing as well. With this angle, this hand is always in the way. Maybe if I... Yep. So, there you go. That's how you plug in your servos using an ESP32. So I plugged in the ground there. Yep, I will be releasing the part pretty soon. So as a solution, I'm quite pleased with it. Right. So last thing is maybe if I did it that way it'd be better. Just install that and yeah. Going to protrude a little bit. As I say, I'm going to investigate whether we can use an XT60 connector instead. That's where it is, yeah. Because I really like how solidly these connect. The pins are a bit more annoying. not the pins, the jack plugs don't work quite so well. Okay, cable tie. Where did I put my cable ties? Were they up here though? So I've got the big ones here, but I want the small ones. There we go. Need to start putting these in a more sensible place. So this one I just need to get tight so it doesn't slip back. It's not very well matched, to be honest, but this will do. Oh, well, I broke that. Definitely need a better, more universal solution for this, but see what happened there, that plastic's yielded. So I need to try again. get that back in the middle of the camera. Right. So again, I need to pull that. Just don't want it to move too much if I press it. Maybe one more click. Okay, that'll do for that. There we go. So, don't like the way the wires bend out of that socket there, but never mind. Unfortunately, I can't push it in with the insulation. So what you're supposed to do is fold it back on itself and then push the insulation in. You get a more robust connection, but can't quite do that. Okay, picture of that. Right, I'm not, this evening I'm not going to bother wiring all of this up or testing it or anything like that. What I will do is check this switch. We'll get to where it needs to go, and then I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. Made this hole slightly too small. So okay, switch in place. What do you put on, Mr. Wire? Yeah, I'm definitely going to need to introduce some kind of wire guides. Ah, nearly had it there. Boom. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. New power bus. So, right, well, I think, guys, unless anybody's got any questions or anything they'd like to ask before I sign off, and I finish my port, I think I'm going to be calling that a night. Yeah, I hope so. I've tried to keep soldering out as much as possible, but I haven't been able to find a better alternative other than some kind of pre-prepared hat. But the trouble there is that then you start getting into hardware supply, which is something that I don't want to do. Some of you guys are quite enterprising though, but yeah. Yeah, I'd not thought of looking into the quadcopter stuff, but might be a good place to look for off-the-shelf parts. The thing I've considered looking at is you can get Hall effect sensor boards that go on the back of a quadcopter motor, like a brushless motor, and you can use that to. I've seen people use sun gear arrangements to make robot joints, 3D printed gearboxes basically. So I considered looking along those lines. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? This is the thing that I'm here definitely to support anybody who wants to do a custom build and try a bunch of stuff. But my job as I see it is to make these designs as available as possible to as many people as possible. And that means I have to stay on. I always have to think about how difficult. How easy can I make the most difficult step in putting this thing together? I'd say the power bus is the hardest bit of putting an SR6 together, which is why we needed this video. Yeah, I mean, there are people. It's like the XT60 plug. It's it's brilliant for what it does, and especially you stick one of these on the end of your power supply, then you're not going to accidentally come disconnected or. Yeah, it's a much better arrangement, but it does add a few extra steps over getting a power supply that's got a plug-in jack connector. So it's just going for an optimal solution. Those of you guys who are pretty confident are going to be able to sort yourselves out and design a different tray for a different kind of connector. I mean, maybe I'll do one for the XT60, but most of you guys who have a bit of confidence can sort yourselves out and do that, whereas what I care about is the person who's never put anything together before and they see this robot and they think, oh, that would be a really cool project. Yeah, I think most of these servos work with 7.4 volts, which is a lithium polymer battery voltage. A lot of the high-end ones, anyway. I don't know about the basic ones, but so yeah, just being able to plug in a lithium polymer battery is a possibility. Oh, okay. Yep, something else that's useful to know. Right, I've nearly finished my crisps. It's going to be quite a... I was going to say liberating, but I never quite feel that because I always have loads of projects on the go at once with this, but it'll be good. I feel very good to get the build plans out. And of course I'll need to probably revise them the next month because these don't have the twist included. But I'd like to build those in. I haven't printed out a twist in red yet either. But I'll be building, adding that in the next month. And yeah, and then I want to take a little bit of a break from the workings of the SR6 and work on work on something different. I quite like the idea of working on a squeezer mechanism, and I've got a cool receiver project that I've had on the back burner for a few weeks now that I might get out next week. Not next week, next month, but you'll have to wait and see for that one. I think it's quite cool, but I don't know how popular it will be. But I think you guys have seen it, but I've got these to play with. These are bicycle brake cables. So I'm quite keen on the idea. Yeah, it's fairly weird and different. You'll have to wait and see for that. The idea with these is that these are fairly universal, so easy to get hold of, but I don't want to put multiple servos onto the receiver to activate the squeezing mechanism. So the idea is to mount the servos at on the base, or on the fixed part, and then you just have this brake cable go to the receiver, and then or the case, if you like, and then yeah, you can activate the squeezer by basically having a servo pulling a brake cable. So I want to have a play with that, and here's the squeezer mechanism. So you imagine something a bit like a bicycle brake, but instead of doing the brake, it squeezes this. Got a rotating ring on the back here. So that's something I want to have a play with. Yes, I mean it doesn't return perfectly, although the presence of something, it doesn't take much pressure to fully open it out. Again, it would be nice to have a spring pulling it back the other way, but then that's extra parts and sourcing it and so on, so maybe just that is enough. But yeah. Well, at the end of the day, this is squeezing into a there'll be a fleshlight insert in the middle of there, so that would be enough to push it back out. The mechanism for this is, I think I may have told you guys, but this is stolen off the space shuttle. So thanks NASA, this is how you get your tax dollars back, Americans. Although it was Canadian, actually, the part I'm thinking of, it's the Canadarm. So the problem if you want to grab a satellite in space is that if you say you use a claw, you go in and this is your satellite and you go wee and you try and grab it, one part of the claw is inevitably going to touch it first. So it will touch and it goes beep, and then this thing starts moving and then you can't grab it. So NASA did loads of experiments trying to figure out how to capture something like a satellite, and what they settled on was you have like a rod, and then this is on the end of the robot arm, and the robot arm goes whoop over the top of it, no contact, up until the point when you've got this thing well inside, and then you activate the motor which squeezes there, and it grabs the rod that goes in the middle, and you've got contact. But there's no way the satellite, when you close the gripper, there's no way the satellite can drift off. So it's a very clever piece of tech. Yep, 2 of them on the ISS. Yep, Canadarm is what you're talking of. And Canadarm 2. Which has one of these on each end, and it walks around the space station like a worm. Like a worm? Yeah, like a... Well, I know what I mean. Right, out of crisps, out of port. I think I'm going to call that a night. So, thanks everybody. It's been good fun. I think we got the footage we need. So, yeah, I will be seeing you guys soon. I will get the video up quickly as possible. That's going to be my job tomorrow, lots of editing, and then I'm going to get the build documents out, and then we are done for the month. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I will see you all soon.